Hi dears, welcome to a video lecture on writing for academic and professional success. In this video, we are going to discuss the sixth unit of this book, Mechanics and Conventions of Writing. So, the first point we are discussing in this chapter is punctuation. What is meant by punctuation? Punctuation is a significant aspect of writing in general and academic writing in particular. This is one of the most important aspects that we have to keep in mind while attempting academic writing, because if we put a punctuation mark wrongly, the meaning of the sentence might change and the reader might get misunderstood. Another important aspect is documentation, the different style guides that we have to use while attempting academic writing. For example, MLA handbook, then APA, Chicago manual, etc. So having command over punctuation rules and documentation style is vital to practice effective academic documents. So this unit discusses the essential punctuation marks commonly employed or used in academic writing. Then the second important thing that this chapter discusses is different types of style guides and their use. And the last point that is being discussed in this chapter is the importance of maintaining academic integrity. So mechanics and conventions of writing, key points. These are some of the points that we have already discussed in the previous chapters. So we know that academic writing is different in a certain way from our daily transactions or our informal use of language. So academic writing is basically formal in nature, and it has to be technical in nature, and it has to be of certain length and logical arrangement, etc. So academic writing follows some rules. Academic writing becomes perfect when its mechanics and conventions are followed appropriately. Okay, there are certain mechanics and conventions which are peculiar to the academic writing, so they should be followed in order to make our academic writing more appealing and acceptable in nature. So formal tone and objectivity are the two important qualities of academic writing. Formal tone and objectivity, we should have a formal tone. We should not use informal language while attempting academic writing, and they should not be subjective. Your personal opinions should not be included in academic writing. So academic writing should be objective in nature, and adhering to rules of punctuation and following a specific style guide are essential in academic writing. In order to have a perfect and acceptable academic writing practice, we have to adhere, we have to follow the punctuation rules and certain style guides that are prescribed for each discipline. So what is meant by punctuation? Punctuation, we are familiar with punctuation, right? Full stop, comma, semicolon, colon, etc. To make your reader understand the message as you wish, it's necessary to follow punctuation rules. Wrong use of punctuation is one of the reasons for miscommunication. Okay, if we use the punctuation wrongly or incorrectly, it might cause in miscommunication. The meaning of a sentence depends on where the punctuation is placed. Okay, where the comma is placed, where the full stop is placed is very important in conveying the exact meaning or the intended meaning. So punctuation marks are the traffic signals of language. Okay, they are considered as the traffic signals of language, which should be used and which should not be used, etc. So they actually gives us directions. They tell us to slow down, notice this, take a detour, and stop. Okay, it's somewhat similar to what traffic signals does while driving. So if we have to use appropriate punctuation marks to convey the meaning as we intend to convey it. Okay, there are many examples that are commonly used to tell us the importance of punctuation. Okay, a few examples are given here. Let's look at these examples. See, let's eat grandpa. This means grandpa is something that has to be eaten. Let's eat, comma, grandpa. Grandpa, come on, let's have food. This is the meaning of second sentence. See the next one. Slow kids at play. What does this mean? Kids are playing and they are playing very fast. So please slow them. Otherwise they might, fall down. They might get injured, etc. So the second one, slow, comma, kids at play. Okay, vehicles are, going very fast. So we are asking the driver, slow down. Kids are playing there. Okay. Next one, no U-turn. We should not take U-turn. But the second one, no U-turn. So if you are asking someone, shall I go forward? Then he replies, no, comma, U-turn. You take a turn now and move back. Next one, see, it's very interesting one. A woman without her man is nothing. There is no punctuation instead the last full stop. A woman without her man is nothing, which means that a man should be there in order to make a woman complete or perfect. See the second one, a woman, colon. So it's going to define the idea of woman. A woman without her comma, man is nothing. Man is nothing if he doesn't have a woman. This is the meaning of second one, which is almost the opposite of the first one. And the third one, a woman, comma, without her man is nothing, which is almost identical or similar to the first sentence. A woman without her man is nothing. So see how giving punctuation changes the meaning of the entire sentence, or it sometimes even gives the direct opposite meaning of the sentence. Okay, so the mostly used punctuation are the punctuation marks that are quite essential in achieving perfection in academic writing include comma, colon, semicolon, period or full stop, brackets, dash, then hyphen, parenthesis. It's another term for bracketing, and quotation marks. So let's go through each one of them and let us look at some of the major uses of those things. So see, first one is comma. In writing, the use of comma tells the reader to pause, or the word preceding the comma is part of a list. Why is it used? Comma is used to tell the reader to pause there a bit, or it also shows a word preceding the comma is part of a list. A comma can be used in a variety of ways in writing. Here are some of the most common rules that are used or the considered under the punctuation comma. So see, first use is after the introductory word or phrase. For example, to begin with, or let me begin with, comma, let me introduce the purpose of my trip. Okay, to begin with. So it's kind of an introduction. Or moreover, the communicative approach has shortcomings as well. Moreover, comma. Or besides, comma, the transport corporation can also consider generating revenues. The sentence goes on. The second use is to list nouns in a sentence. Okay, if we have to list nouns in a sentence, more than two nouns are there, we have to, if more than two nouns are there, we have to use commas. If there are only two nouns, we don't have to use comma. Instead, we have to use and to connect them. So see here, fruits like papaya, comma, berries, comma, guava, comma, apricot, comma, pear, comma, kiwi, and peach are considered suitable to manage blood sugar. Okay, so there are so many names of nouns or so many names of fruits or nouns. We used comma to separate them. Okay. Then corporate giants like TCS, comma, Wipro, comma, Accenture, comma, and CTS are seemingly shifting their attention. Okay. So the third use, to list coordinating adjectives and to separate items in any other series. So see, the budget room aggregators supply well-maintained, comma, spacious rooms at competitive prices. Okay, so this well-maintained and spacious are two adjectives. So in order to separate them, we used comma. The long, tedious session. See, session is the noun here. Long and tedious are adjectives that qualify the noun. So the long, comma, tedious session on new tax reforms did not produce the desired effect. Okay. So the next use, to separate two independent clauses or complete thoughts in a compound sentence connected by and, but, for, or, nor, so, yet. So these are the things that we usually use to connect two independent clauses. We have already learned what is meant by independent clause in the previous chapter. So see the examples. The doctor says the doctor says his fever is gone, comma. So that is one independent clause. And he is still feeling tired is another independent clause. So in order to connect them, we used but. After, so before but we used, or after the first independent clause we used comma here. The doctor says his fever is gone, comma. So the sentence is complete. Then after that we use but, and he is still feeling tired. See the next sentence. Romana missed the suburban train today, comma, and she missed her first hour class. Okay, so these are two independent clauses connected by and. So immediately after the first independent clause and before the coordinating conjunction and or but, we have to use comma. So next usage, to separate interrupting words and expression in a sentence. For example, the famous composer, comma, Mozart, comma, is known for his symphonies. We can use another example. The famous musician, comma, A.R. Rahman, comma, won Nobel Prize. No, won Oscar for best music. Okay, the famous musician, comma, A.R. Rahman, comma, won Oscar for best musician, like that. Next usage, to set off a quote from the rest of a sentence. Okay, if we are using a quotation in a sentence, we have to use comma to separate it from the rest of the sentence. See here, as a leader, Mahatma Gandhi bestowed tremendous faith in humanity, and he asked his disciple not to, then we are taking a quotation. So after this not to, we have used a comma here, then the quotation comes. See the other example. Edward Said considered an intellectual as an, there should be a comma actually here. After and there should be a comma. Actually they have missed it here. Okay, comma, outsider, amateur, and etc. Okay, so there should be a comma. Okay, you have to put a comma in your textbook here after and. So next one, the comma is over. Next one is semicolon. A semicolon indicates a pause or a break in a sentence which is longer than a comma but shorter than a period. Okay, shorter than a full stop. Longer than a comma, shorter than a full stop. Usually semicolons separate two closely related independent clauses in a sentence. They are also used to replace commas in a series. Sometimes semicolons are used to replace commas. So we have to look at the important functions or usages of semicolon. To combine two closely related independent clauses, not like by a coordinating conjunction, and, but, for, nor, so, etc. So if we are not using these things, and, but, for, nor, or, so, yet, we can use semicolon and combine the sentences. I know your father, semicolon, he has close association with my uncle. We can use here but or and, etc. But if we are not using these things, we can use the semicolon. Then to separate items in a list, when the items are phrases or one of them item includes a conjunction or comma. See here, the technical apparatus that are still in use in classroom teaching include overhead projector, a favorite among teachers of yesterday. See, projector, comma, a favorite among teachers of yesterday, semicolon, slide projector, semicolon, LCD projector, semicolon, and smartboard. So here, after this overhead projector, we have to use a small phrase here. So there they gave a comma. After that, semicolon. Then after the next slide projector, semicolon, LCD projector, semicolon, etc. Like that. Then next usage, a semicolon can be used to replace a period, a full stop, if the writer wishes to reduce the gap between linked sentences in a paragraph. So in a paragraph, if we use full stop or period, it means that the idea is complete there. So if the writer wants to use a semicolon instead of using comma, instead of using a full stop, that's also acceptable. See here, monsoon sets in Kerala in the month of June, semicolon, district authorities make elaborate preparation prior to the onset of monsoon. We can use a full stop also here. Then the word, however, comes after a semicolon or a period, and it is followed by a comma. Okay, next one is colon. We'll discuss that in the next video.